FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, what crazy things are going on in the world now? Some of them I can't even believe. That's why I got to get Joe Messina on from therealside.com to help us make some semblance of sense. Joe, how are you?
Good. You took care of it. It's just, you know what? The nice thing about the craziness in the world is I'll always have a job.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think it's full employment for you and me, you know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's some of these things are just incredible, but some of them aren't. They're totally predictable. You know, the FBI just came out once again with the most dangerous cities in the country. And actually, though, I was a little bit surprised, I have to confess, because Camden, New Jersey came out on top. And the reason I'm surprised is that they fired their police department and they had the county take it over. And the reason they did that was they got rid of the union and they were able to hire like a bunch more cops because they weren't going to be unionized. And I guess they're still learning the job, the new police department. So I think crime is down there, but it's so high and it's basically a failed city. Campbell's Soup was their biggest employer. They moved out of there about 10 years ago because it was so lawless they couldn't even make soup there anymore. And then they left, and then the usual suspects are on the list. We talked about Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Oakland, St. Louis, Cleveland. And then Newark, Bridgeport, Connecticut, I think is new on the list, and Birmingham, Alabama. And
Birmingham, that kind of threw me a little bit for a loop there, you know. But hey, what do they all have in common? I'll say it. You don't have to. It's a management style. That's what I talk about on my show. It's a management style. They're all run by Democrats, every one of them.
The Democratic crime family runs these as opposed to the Republican crime family. So pick your crime family.
I know they're on both sides, but I really think it's hilarious how I keep having these images. My show originates out of California, which is where I'm from, and we've had 5 or 6 Democrats recently either indicted or arrested for corruption charges. And
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
I know. I'll wait for you to get up off the floor. But I get a kick out of it because, they had a supermajority here in California. We haven't been able to break that. But I'm telling my friends now, we didn't need to. Just sit back and wait. These guys will get arrested, and they no longer have a supermajority. They've actually lost it because they've had 3 other guys indicted and leaving the Senate up here. So I think that's hilarious. But but again, I come back to it. It is a management style. You look at what happened in New York. One of the first thing that what's his name, the blunder there that
Comrade
he decided to do.
Comrade
Comrade DeBlasio decided to do was stop the search. What is it? Stop and frisk or stop and search or whatever it is. Which every even the guy before him, which was fairly liberal, kept
nanny.
it in place.
The nanny.
Yeah. So the nanny. You're right. So he kept it in place. They realized it helps with crime. Comrade DeBlasio comes in and says, no, we'll have none of that. We're not going to stop crime. That's not our job. Because that's the only thing I can think of he would say that could make any sense. And they're going to be on this list, too, next year if you keep an eye on this.
Yeah, the function of the New York City Police Department now is just to take reports and draw chalk lines on the street afterwards. Get in the CSI team and maybe catch the people who've done the crimes. So
crime is going to be so high, the only job they're going to have is to protect each other. They have to keep their heads down and protect each other because you can't have it both ways. You can't have a safe city, a safe area, and virtually have no guidelines or not be able to watch over, have some semblance of order. It just doesn't work, as these 10 towns have seen or 10 cities have seen in their lifetime.
Look, you're either going to allow the public to arm themselves and fight the criminals, or you're going to have to give the police department adequate tools to fight the criminals. You can't have it both ways. It's got to work one way or the other.
If you let people have more guns, you're going to have more criminals because the criminals follow the law, therefore the law-abiding citizens will get guns once you allow them to. Then they'll become criminals. That's how it happens. Don't you know that?
Yeah, like all those people in Connecticut. I don't know if you've been following that story, but there was roughly 400,000 people in Connecticut with so-called assault-style rifles, and 50,000 after they passed the new law took the time and the effort to register them, leaving 350,000 people, give or take, as newly minted felons. And now the state of Connecticut doesn't exactly know what to do. Do they start bashing in people's doors and arresting them and confiscating their so-called assault rifles? Or do they repeal the law? Or do they just pretend that nothing ever happened? And,
well, they're going to do it. They're going to take the lead from Obama and just pretend like the law doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with that. I really don't, because you're right. You go out and enforce the law. You only enforce the ones you want to. There's 350, like you said, 350,000 of them. Do you allow them just to break the law? I don't agree with the law, but I also don't agree with breaking the law just for the mere fact of breaking the law.
Yeah, not a wise move, and they're shocked that this is widespread civil disobedience, and nobody's paying attention. As we used to say, the law is honored more in its breach than its performance. And what did they do? And then what happens when they start sending these? The state police really don't want to go out there and find out that there's people who are angry enough to start shooting at them and go down with the ship. They don't want to. They don't want to be responsible for this. Laws only work when there's a minority of people who break them. When there's a majority, like going back to prohibition, going back to the marijuana laws that we have now, when there are large minorities or even majorities of the citizenry that ignore the laws, they really don't work. Then you have societal breakdown. And that's kind of what we're facing here, Joe.
Yeah, we talk about, everybody likes to come back to prohibition. It didn't work because, they couldn't, they couldn't defend it or they couldn't enforce it. And so we had to repeal it. No, you know what? It didn't work because it was just a bad law, period. And not that you couldn't enforce it, because if we take an attitude that we can't enforce something, therefore we should change it, I'm not one of those people. I think sometimes you have to fight hard to enforce a law, to enforce some rules that you have in place, if you would. But this is just craziness. We've got people here in California where the ATF is going in and confiscating computers and records of gun companies or gun stores when they haven't done anything wrong yet.
Yeah,
that's what scares me more than anything. These guys have done nothing wrong yet. So apparently now the laws have changed that you're now guilty until proven innocent, and you'll have to do that without your computers, without proof, without any way of getting to your information, so you can prove yourself to be innocent.
Yeah, a little.
That's the scary part for me, Kerry.
Yeah, pre-crime, right? Little pre-crime. So
yeah, what is it? Everybody got a crystal ball now at the police stations. They go down to Joe's gun shop. He may be the next one. I don't get it. I don't get where they're going with this.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm very concerned about this story that you had on the North Carolina Democrat Viria Insko, and she wanted to know how many women were getting prostate cancer. This is a big problem among the female population, isn't it?
Think of the awkward moment here. Okay, the North Carolina legislature are having this hearing, if you would, and they're trying to get information. And it's about Obamacare, and it's about how it's affecting the state, the people in the state. And now you've got a legislator that says, "Hey, I want to know." Let me quote her, so I can't be accused of putting words in her mouth.
No, you wouldn't want to do that.
No, we wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do that. Actually, their words are great, so I don't want to change anything. But she comes out and she says, "I want to know what percentage of prostate cancer patients are women." and you could have heard a pin drop for a second in place. Then you heard some chuckles and some giggles, and she looks like she's really irritated in the sense that, well, why are you laughing at me?
Yeah.
So the head of the department looks there and says, I have no idea. I'll have to look into it. He said, I would imagine, he's trying to throw her a bone here, right? I would imagine it's zero. But I don't know for sure.
I think she's been hanging out with Sheila Jackson Lee and Maxine Waters a little too much. She better change her peer group, I think. What do you think, Joe?
Think of that. That would be a party to go to. Wouldn't you love to have a roundtable discussion and you put Maxine Waters, Sheila Jackson Lee, Wasserman Schultz, you put this woman and Pelosi at the table. You couldn't pay for this kind of entertainment, right?
Oh, man.
I would promote that show.
Yeah. A round table and put them up on MSNBC and maybe have Keith Olbermann or one of those other brilliant people there moderate this debate. And I think the ratings would go through the roof, Joe. I think we've found the cure to the ratings plunge at MSNBC. Maybe Al Sharpton could really moderate this one. What do you think?
Well, either that or we should pitch this show to Comedy Central. I'm sure they'd jump all over it, don't you think?
Yeah, joint broadcast. I think we're onto something. I think we've got it. We've got the cure to MSNBC's ratings plunge, and we'll talk.
No, you can't. You know what? That's like the Titanic. You can't fix that.
Yeah, but we could go down with a laugh, I think, Joe. And more about this up next. We got who's not on the 50 best leaders list on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Kerry, Lutz, and we're talking with Joe Messina.
FSN Radio.
Warning, you might live in a no constitution zone. It's the shocking story you won't see on TV. Depending upon where you live in the United States, you may no longer have constitutional rights. Politicians are quietly squeezing the middle class to micromanage you and extract your wealth. Want to see how? Watch the free video at noconstitutionzone.com. Soon, you'll have the last laugh by using these cultural contraband tricks and profit like a king. That's noconstitutionzone.com.
FSN Radio.
Are you worried about protecting your wealth against a dollar collapse? Worried about gold confiscation? Owings Metals provides wearable wealth solutions that will keep your wealth safe from a declining dollar and from a government that's getting more desperate by the day. The Indians have understood this for thousands of years. Americans are just starting to catch on. When you wear an Owings Metals 24-karat piece of jewelry, you can safely cross borders and take your wealth with you. Best of all, it's insurable, and unlike a lot of Indian jewelry, it's very durable. It can easily be disassembled and sold off in pieces if you need cash. It's surprisingly affordable and definitely should have a place in your wealth diversification strategy. Precious metals are like so many other types of insurance. You only find out how important and essential they are after disaster strikes. Call Owings Metals now at 855-604-6343. 855-604-6343. Don't wait until it's too late. 855-604-6343 now.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz. We're talking with Joe Messina from therealside.com. So, Joe, the 50 best leaders list, a little shocking or perhaps not so shocking, huh?
Well, you would, if you read the list, you would have thought I wrote part of it anyway. But the thing that was shocking to me was, the guys over at your buddies over there at MSNBC, they were having a meltdown over the fact that Mr. Obama did not make the list of the 50 world's greatest leaders, and the list wasn't from some right wing group; it was from Fortune magazine.
Yeah, that's Time Warner. It doesn't get any more lefty than that. Is that an act of omission or commission?
I think these guys. I think what's happening now in the news media, and I'm not holding up great hope. Don't think I'm thinking this is great, integrity wave coming across the media. But I think the media now is getting afraid. They see what he's doing and what his team is doing when it comes to getting information out. There's a lot of events there at the White House that the press is no longer allowed to go into, and they're given notes and they're given pictures afterward.
Yeah.
To go ahead and put it in the paper, and they're getting fed up with it. And I think that he thought that these people were loyal to no end. But this list, the guy that came up on the top of the list is Pope Francis.
The Pope, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Catholic, but I think they picked a great guy to be up a number one there. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's trying to make some great changes in an organization that he very much loves, and frankly, with the problems they've had, they've still done a lot of good for this world. They've done a lot of good in this world when it comes to feeding the sick, helping the poor, and that kind of thing. So he's a charismatic guy. I get a kick out of the fact that he won't sleep in the Pope's bed. He still sleeps on a cot. Great guy. Anyway, number 2, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany.
I don't quite get that, but I'm not really seeing what the great thing she's done there is. If you ask the people living in the EU, they might think otherwise. Why isn't Putin in there? I mean, I don't like the guy. I think there's a dark side to him, but as far as being a leader goes, he's certainly more of a leader than the big guy in the White House. And I don't know how they judge these people. I'm scrolling down the list here. Clinton, where's Hillary? Where's Hillary?
Well, she really pulled the strings. I mean, you're right. And then we've got Warren Buffett on there, former President Bill Clinton. What's her name? Angela Jolie is on this list.
Yeah,
she's on the top 10.
Give me a break. I mean,
right. I'm thinking to myself, why?
Where's my anti-nausea medication here? Because I like the gal, but she's not a leader. Now they got this one from Burma here. So she got a Nobel Peace Prize, but so did Obama. That means nothing. She's from Burma. Now, real interesting things are happening in Burma. I don't know if you're as big a fan of the show Top Gear as I am, Joe. If you ever watch that show, you need to watch that show, BBC's Top Gear, because they do all sorts of things like you and I would like to do as basically middle-aged guys who've really never grown up and still laugh at stuff. And they took a tour. They give them the producers say, here's some money, go out and buy trucks, and you're going to drive through Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, and you're going to go to Thailand and you're going to build a bridge over the River Kwai. And they're going through Burma, and there's parts of Burma that have had civil war for 60 years, Joe. And now they've opened it up to Western film crews, and they're going through there, and you just can't even picture the roads they're going through and the people and, the way they're, this is just stuff you can't even imagine. And then they build a bridge over the River Kwai, and it's just hysterical. They wind up hiring a bunch of Thais to do it for them because they're a bunch of middle-aged white guys who couldn't really put together a bunch of popsicle sticks to build a whatever. And I mean, it's just hysterical. And
what about this list here with Bono is above the Dalai Lama?
Yeah, above the Dalai Lama and Christine Lagarde from the IMF, and Nanny Bloomberg is number 15. He's no longer the mayor. I'm looking for DeBlasio here. Why not the commissioner?
Give him time. Give him time.
Why not the commissioner of the police department of New York City, who has saved more people probably than just about anybody through his ComStat and all of his police innovations? What he did in L.A., stopping the gang warfare. He's nowhere to be found on here. I'm looking at a bunch of people. Yeah, there is Angela Jolie at 21. I mean, this thing is a freaking joke.
What did they use? What did they use for leadership? That's the thing that would bother me. What did they use, to decide what leadership really was?
I don't know.
Mean, Bill Clinton's a great leader.
Gabrielle Giffords, all she did was get shot by some guy. I mean, please. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad about it. Should have never happened. But this is absurd, this list.
Well, see, you give them some credibility when they lead off with the Pope. You go, okay, all right, I can see where they're going with this. But when you start to see the rest, now I didn't have a problem. I don't know how you feel about this, but I didn't have a problem with Ford being on there because I said, all right, well, here's a car company that didn't ask for money from the government. They're still doing well. They're still making a profit. Okay, he's got good leadership, apparently, in that area, or good management. Doesn't matter. He's still the guy at the top.
Yeah. Here's a guy who deserves to be on there. This guy, Jose Antonio Abreu, who started El Sistema in a garage with 11 musicians in 1975. Today it teaches music to 400,000 poor kids in Venezuela and inspired similar programs worldwide. Okay, that's a great guy. Deserves to be on there, and in spite of the government in Venezuela. All right?
Yeah.
But this list is just garbage here. For the most part, the CEO of Apple, give me a break. That guy, forget it. He's done nothing for Apple. He's a seat warmer for when hopefully Johnny Ive takes over or the next great guy there.
I think they're in trouble. I have not heard of or seen any new initiatives come out of that company. I've got a friend of mine that's close to the manufacturing there. They were working on some great things before Steve died, and those things have come almost to a screeching halt. If they come out with anything earth-shattering in the next couple of years, I'll be really surprised.
Yeah, well, the leadership seem to have lost their way, and they've just basically been doing what they were doing. Wynton Marsalis, I don't know what I'm missing here. A good musician, but a leader, I don't know.
But listen, isn't this part of a bigger problem? Look, you and I have talked about this kind of thing before, where you've got society as a whole has been changing the standards. They've been changing the way they look at things. When you talk about heroes and when you talk about people with leadership abilities, think about the people that they've called out over the years. Some of these are thugs. Some of these guys are known liars, and they hold them up in high esteem. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I think that's part of the bigger problem is if you're setting your leadership guidelines based on what society's been using for the last 10, 15 years, I'm surprised Charlie Manson isn't on there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe he
put a good crew together.
51. I think he was number 51. He didn't quite make it. He's been unavailable the past 30-something years.
Yeah, so. He didn't return the questionnaire.
Yeah, he couldn't make it for the formal award, so...
Oh,
it's just
amazing to me. And if Bill Clinton if Mr. Obama has his way, I don't know how they're going to come up with a list next year because the internet will probably be shut down by then. You know about that story, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
They want to hand it off. So now, all right, in all fairness, that this did start about 10 years ago. They started talking about handing off the internet to a more global oversight, if you would, to the UN. I wouldn't give the UN a free lunch card, okay, any one of their members, because they'd figure out a way to screw it up. But here we have, we're gonna give the internet or control the internet to the UN. It looks like in 2016, unless the government steps up or Congress steps up and passes a law that Obama won't enforce, to keep the internet here in this country. And the thing behind it is what's really funny. Think about the Human Rights Commission. We put China as the leader of the Human Rights Commission. Yeah, that made all the sense in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're going to give some of these countries who quickly shut the internet down in their countries when things start to go awry or there's problems, and heavily oversee the internet use in their countries. We're going to give them control of the internet.
Great idea. Isn't that great?
Is it? Well, listen, at least we won't have to upkeep it anymore. We won't have to watch over it. We won't have to, oh, no, wait a minute. They don't have any money. We're going to have to maintain it. We're going to have to make sure it's running. We built it. Al Gore created it. We don't want to take any credit away from him, right?
Yeah.
And we built it. We beefed it up. I remember it goes all the way back to ArcNet, where it was for the colleges to share information, which was a great and wonderful idea. Now it drives everything, right? Can you imagine if the internet was down for a week, even in your line of work, how tough that would be?
It'd be all over. We would go into a global depression if it was down for 3 days, Joe. You can't even imagine the damage. Yeah. The damage that would be done. Well, it used to be, people don't realize that years ago it used to be everything traveled over phone lines. So, Bank A would do a dial-up
over a regular phone line, an encrypted phone line, and it would go to Bank B, and transfers and information would get transferred. Nowadays, they're hot and online all the time through the internet. Very few banks, very few institutions have that phone backup system.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. I want to talk more about this up next. On the Financial Survival Network, we're talking with Joe Messina of therealside.com.
FSN Radio.
Warning, you might live in a no constitution zone. It's the shocking story you won't see on TV. Depending upon where you live in the United States, you may no longer have constitutional rights. Politicians are quietly squeezing the middle class to micromanage you and extract your wealth. Want to see how? Watch the free video at noconstitutionzone.com. Soon, you'll have the last laugh by using these cultural contraband tricks and profit like a king. That's noconstitutionzone.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com talking with Joe Messina. What would happen if the internet went down? And the UN is so good at running things. Their peacekeeping missions, which just seem to be loaded with rapists that they send to various places in the world. Joe, you know, the internet, life as we know it, it'd be like losing electricity, like losing running water, losing all of life's conveniences, like not having a car. I mean, it's like that, right?
You know, I joke with my dad all the time, but he says, hey, my yellow legal pad the battery in it never dies. And, you know, he's got a point. He keeps all his notes on a legal pad that he runs around with him. But, you know, everything. Think about the appliances that come out today. They have refrigerators that order food for you. They have, you've got your smartphone where your kids check in on a regular basis. We live and breathe today off the internet. And you're right. How many businesses would go under or have to lock the doors until the thing came back up and running again?
Yeah. So big deal. If people don't hear you or me for a week, I think it'd be difficult, but they might just be able to survive. But, you know, the transportation system, the power grid,
sure.
You know, the air traffic control system. How the hell would you buy an airline ticket not being able to get onto the internet? You know, how would Obama be able to give a speech with his teleprompters? You know, and I think we have to give a reward if anyone can hack his teleprompters and you know, change the direction of humanity. You know, he would not be able to give a speech without the internet, and then we would really be in trouble if Obama couldn't give a speech, right?
Well, think about it. He couldn't get his selfies out over his phone. If the internet goes down, you know, and again, I think people, it's like other things in life. We don't understand what electricity means to us till it stops, right? You don't really get how important the water coming to your home is until it stops. It's down for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, and how inconvenient it is. We don't realize how much you and I are in essence talking over the internet using these voice over IP phones. So we don't realize how much today that the internet is running all of this. I don't know if you have Time Warner down there, but pretty much all their services, even though they run off a cable, they originate and start with the internet feeds.
Yeah. I mean, everything comes down to the internet, and the police departments and defense and everything is IP protocol. And the thought that you're going to give responsibility for this thing, even if it's nominal responsibility, which it probably would be, because I can't see the UN running anything. I mean, I lived in New York, a couple blocks away from that building, and, you know, it's like, look, you think U.S. government employees are slovenly, lazy, and incompetent and do anything. Well, you know, just picture them being French, and you know, as little as they get done here, it's even worse. And, you know, to give them responsibility for the internet, like, forget it.
Would the internet go down for 2 hour siesta every day if they took it over? You know, because
and then they have to come back from work. You think they're going to come back from that 2 hour, you know, fiesta and then the siesta? You know, it's just a really bad idea to give up control. And the fact is, the U.S. invested billions and billions of dollars now from the defense budget because it was DARPA. It was DARPANet, defense,
right.
whatever it was, whatever that stood for. You know, the U.S. invented it for whatever the reason to facilitate intellectual transfers through a network between all these defense contractors and colleges and universities. And, you know, where's our compensation? And let all these countries, while they're at it, pay us back for World War I and World War II, all the money that we gave them before we're going to go turn it over. So not to go digging up old wounds, but look, the fact is the U.S. paid for it. All right. We let everybody else in on it, but there's no reason to give it up, because what can happen here is that the Chinese say, you know, we need our little piece to be in the Chinese language, Chinese characters. And then the Russians say, you know, ours should be in the Cyrillic alphabet. And then they all break off and we have this Tower of Babel. The internet becomes a Tower of Babel. Sure. That's what the risk is here, Joe.
Yeah, I see it as it'll be just too easy for them to grab our you know, people are up in arms about the NSA now. Can you imagine the UN watching the flow of information? They don't realize that when it comes to the internet, the point of entry servers that are all over the place. There's tens of thousands of these things just in this country alone, where your information hits an entry point, and that computer decides the fastest way to get your information to the bank. You're doing your banking online. It decides where the least amount of traffic is and how to get you there. Well, guess what? Those point of entry computers you can use to download all your information from. You really want the UN, the United Nuts, to be looking over your information, to be the ones? You think the NSA is storing stuff? These guys would have a field day with our information.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't trust them as it is. We've seen they're anti-American, anti-everything, anti-West. And let's face it, we're in a world where the economy, the balance of power is shifting from west to east. And the UN is shifting that way as well. Do we really want them running this thing? And, you know, another thing that's really not that well known is right now for domain names, if there's a dispute, you go arbitrate that in the UN.
Oh, yeah.
They're in charge of that. So, and they've got some anomalous results that have happened as a result of the UN being in charge. Is this another thing that we want them to screw up because they've screwed up so much already? The answer to me is no. And yet, you know, this is an area where the administration's just basically rolling over and playing dead on it. Not a good idea. But what do you expect?
It's yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I think people think you know, they're back in the 60s and 70s when they think of the United Nations, and they're thinking of, you know, here's a group of people that are trying to make nice for all the countries of the world, and they don't really know what's going on there. What could be so bad about giving them control of the internet? I mean, why are you guys that lean right so upset about giving it to a group of people that love everyone? They want everyone to have. These are the same nut jobs that gave China the head table at the Council for Human Rights. Really?
Yeah, this kumbaya thing, huh?
Yeah, I know. Break out the guitar and the marshmallows. Let's go.
Yeah. I didn't see the head of the UN on the 50 greatest leaders either, did you?
Oh, I must have missed it. Maybe I don't know who it is anymore, but
yeah, the bot somebody or other bot Korean guy, right? It's from Korea.
You got to look at this stuff and think, we should hear a flushing sound every time somebody talks about this country. That's how bad it's getting.
Just awful. And it's enough. If you can't find any humor in it, then you could really get depressed. But as long as we have... True. As long as we have Sheila Jackson Lee, as long as we have politicians curious about female prostate cancer, then we'll always be able to find humor in any situation, right, Joe?
They're looking out for us, buddy.
Well, they're looking out for somebody. Female prostate suffers. You know, I think maybe we should throw a benefit, don't you think, Joe?
Hey, that's great. I like it. Yeah. I think we just found an organization, you and I can get well, the UN probably can get behind it. They'd probably find numbers to support it too, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, hey, and I'll be the first to line up and start a female prostate transplant survivors charity too, you know?
And you'll need a lot of money to do research and development, I'm sure, at first.
Where are these people? You know, that reminds me of Maxine Waters with Solomon Barney Frank. You know, that one.
But they keep getting elected, Kerry. They keep getting elected. I don't know if people are sleeping. Forgive me, but I don't know if people are just stupid. They keep getting elected.
Well, we're going to talk more about stupid politicians. Up next on the Financial Survival Network, we're talking with Joe Messina of The Real Side.
FSN Radio.
When your accountant wants tax-free income, this is what he does. Accountants know the law. They also know that any American could legally get paid up to 3 times per month, 100% tax-free. That's 36 tax-free checks each year. It doesn't matter what you make already. This simple strategy could work for anyone. Go to www.irsrevenge2.com to learn how. That's irsrevenge2.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And we are back. And Joe, I'm holding you over. I know you got things to do, but we're just having too much fun. And anytime you're talking about dumb politicians, well, there's never a shortage of material, is there?
No, you could do 3 hours on it easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's just shocking because, you know, I got to tell you this story. Like in Florida, got this road that runs along the oceans called A1A. Now, everybody just thinks A1A, that's the name of it. Well, I did a little research, and A1A stands for Atlantic 1 Alternate. Okay. So, you know, one of the primary responsibilities of politicians is they name roads. So we have this other road here called Alternate A1A because nobody ever bothered to figure out what A1A meant. So we have a road that effectively is named Alternate Atlantic 1 Alternate. So this is just the way things work in Florida. So how do you name a road, Joe, Alternate Atlantic 1 Alternate? Would you explain that to me?
No, I can't. I don't even know where to go with that. You know, it's like that. What was it, about 4 years ago when they allocated money for that bridge to nowhere?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was one of the northern Michigan or something like that. I'm thinking to myself, did anybody actually go out there and look and see where the bridge was going to go and what two land masses it was going to tie together? No. Let's not do that.
Well, you know, in China, they have cities, empty cities. So if you had a bridge that at least took you to an empty city, wouldn't it make sense? You know, that was their mistake. They needed a city, an empty city, so you had a bridge to nowhere that took you to an empty city, right? You know, that's the problem with these urban planners. They need to take these things to their logical extremes, and they're just not doing their jobs. You know, it's really disappointing.
Well, you know, we were making fun of some of these people earlier, but you know, I have a field day on my show. I blame our constituency. I blame the voters. I go, look, you cannot be that oblivious to people like, you know, Wasserman Schultz, Nancy Pelosi, who still says today there's absolutely no problems with Obamacare, absolutely no problems with the Affordable Health Care Act. Now, I don't care if you're the staunchest Democrat, even these guys that aren't rerunning next year, they're saying, no, there are issues. We need to fix the issues. Let's tweak it, not kill it. I get where they're coming from. But here you have the leader of their party, in essence. No, we got no problems. This is the same woman who said, we got to pass it so we can know what's in it.
Yeah, this is the law of the land, right? It's perfect. It's perfect. How dare you even think of making a change to this law? It's working so well, right? From the website to the coverage and everyone. How could you not be happy with this? It's just a work of legislative art, right? How dare you question it?
Yeah, we've got, we here in California have a AB 1266. We call it the bathroom bill, and it was championed by the LGBTQ community. That's the lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer, or questioning, depending on what site you go to. Well, all right. So we're up for equal rights, and we're trying to get this information, or they're trying to get this out. This is a one-page bill. All right. So think about this. This is a bill that dictates to the school districts and other entities that, depending on what gender you identify with, you get to use those bathrooms, you get to participate in those sports. So if we have a male that identifies as a female, then they get to use the female bathroom and join female sports. So in essence, what they did was they said, this sounds like a good thing to do, and we're going to do a one-page bill, and then we'll let everybody else figure out how to implement it.
That's like the glove thing.
Districts.
That's like the bare hands law. It didn't work out too good in practice, though.
Right? So they push it out to the school districts, and we've got these jokers because you can't tell the parents. You don't need a doctor's note. And the child doesn't actually have to come tell you that they're transgender or they identify differently. So you got a teacher that walks into a bathroom where there's a boy in there and two girls, and what's the first thought process, right? Grab the kid, bring him into the office, and go, what are you doing in the girls' bathroom?
Oh my God!
So it's this legislative craziness that these people are doing, and you think, my God, if you ran your business like this, you wouldn't make it through the first year.
So it's chaos. So it's total chaos because it's like,
and they don't care.
Well, wait a second. You guys shouldn't be in this bathroom, but I'm transgender, but you didn't say you were. Well, I didn't have to. I am now. Right. I just made the decision when I walked in here.
When I walked by the bathroom door.
I said it was really a good time to be transgender.
I keep saying, where was this law in the 70s? We would have had a field day with
this. We didn't need one back then.
And we didn't. We really didn't. You're right. But this is where I tell people all the time. They don't think it through. They really, they get these noble ideas. I'll give them that much. They do come up with some pretty good stuff, but they don't think it through. How about when you come up with an idea, it's got to sit at the table for a couple of days. You take a few weeks to plan it out. You run it through a real committee, and it may take you 2 or 3 months to make it happen. But my God, at least you'd have something we could actually enforce and work with.
Well, that's like your law where they said every food handler had to use latex gloves. And hey, that sounds wonderful in theory, because we won't have any more foodborne illnesses due to people having dirty hands. But as a practical matter, it can't be done. And that's why you have sinks in food kitchens, in restaurants, so that people are always washing their hands and are always have clean hands when they're. And as it turns out, the restaurants are freaking out about it. It can't be done. After 2 months, they're going to repeal this law. What about this case, Joe, I was talking to you about in New York, went to the second highest court in the state. School is having a concert, and a couple of female teachers had a little bit too much to drink before the concert and decide to go they're lesbians, and they get a little too carried away in a classroom. They're both have their tops off and engaged in lewd and lascivious conduct. This is a family show. I don't want to get really too descriptive, sure. Not like the New York Post did, which isn't a family publication any longer. Janitor catches him. It's dark in there. He doesn't know their teachers. Tells the principal catches them, and there's a concert going on. There's students there, parents. They get terminated. They sue for reinstatement, back pay. This happened in 2009, goes to the appellate division in 2014, and there's some real winner judges on this panel. I can't get any more critical. I'm still a member of the New York Bar. I'll get in trouble if I really say what I think. But basically, the holding of the court is that as long as class wasn't in session, firing them was too draconian a disciplinary matter, and they ordered them reinstated. I don't know if the New York City Department of Education's going to appeal it to the highest court. I kind of hope they do, because this kind of opens up a Pandora's box, no pun intended. And I mean, Joe, like, what's going on here in the world? This is nuts.
We have no standards. I mean, we value nothing. We have no standards anymore. Look, here's the thing. Take the lesbian portion out of this. Let's just say two adults were having sex. How's that?
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's not like the school school's shut down. There's nothing going on after school. A couple of janitors roaming around that are cleaning, and then these two teachers, maybe they were working late, had too much to drink or what have you. Well, whatever the situation is. This is not the case at all. There was a function going on at the school. Yes, in the auditorium, I get it, but you and I both know kids wander around. They bring their parents around to see their classrooms and such. And you got two teachers who were out having a few drinks, were supposed to be at the event. It wasn't official, but they were there to kind of root the kids on. And they decide that after having a few drinks, they're a little amorous. They're going to go in the room and turn it up, turn up the heat a little bit. And this is still school property. It's still paid and maintained by taxpayers. I was saying on my show, who gets to pay for the cleaning of the desk and the floor and whatever else got soiled in the situation? We still have to have some kind of decorum. We still have to have or expect that our teachers and leaders in the community, if you would, conducted themselves better.
Yeah, get a room, for crying out loud. It's just totally inappropriate, and it's just not right. And
nope.
You need to send a message out to the tens of thousands of other school employees and teachers that certain types of behavior are not going to be tolerated
not acceptable at all.
Under any circumstances. And for the court to say otherwise just sends out totally wrong message and is going to encourage that kind of behavior, because it effectively gives the teachers and other staff a license to misbehave and to act on their whims and impulses. And it's just, the courts in New York, where I still am admitted, but I'm thinking I'm not going to practice anymore. I'm thinking, just send in my ticket. I've had enough. I just don't want to be part of the system anymore. I just really don't, not with these kind of decisions. There's just no benefit for me to be a member of the bar anymore.
For a guy like you to support that. I get it.
Yeah. There's just no justification for that. But yeah, it's just a world gone mad out there, Joe. It's just a madhouse. It reminds me of that Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, and they're giving him a little hydrotherapy, and he's screaming, "It's a madhouse! It's a madhouse!" Yeah.
Well, I can see some of these guys. The end of the movie when he's on his knees next to the Statue of Liberty, screaming, "We blew the whole damn thing up."
Yeah.
Can you see? I can see that happening at some point in time. Somebody in government just going, "My God, what did we do to this place?"
Yeah, what did we do to this place? Good question. What did we do to it? And nothing good, because I'll tell you, the debasement, it's monetary debasement. I don't know which came first, the monetary debasement or the moral debasement, but we're so far into each one of them. And, there's just feels like there's no way out of it, Joe.
I believe it's the moral. I personally believe that the moral debasement started it all. You cannot take away the moral guidelines, the basic guidelines for life and humanity as a whole, and expect things are going to be fine. I mean, they think freedom. The people on the far left think freedom means that we have a right to do anything we want whenever we want, as long as we don't bother somebody else. But then the decision becomes, what does bother mean? What does that really mean? I mean, if I'm bothering you, look it. if some people get totally grossed out when two guys are kissing or two girls are kissing, and that's their lifestyle, that's what they've decided to live. What is a bother? What do you get to play your music at 10.5 at the restaurant? Is that, even though it bothers me, you have a right to listen to music. Do you know what I'm saying? We just don't. We don't have any kind of respect for each other anymore. I think that's what bothers me the most. When I was in a store the other day, and there were 2 or 3 people standing around, and they're talking in a department store, and every other word was, an F this and F that, and a foul language and all. And I'm going, wait a minute. I never heard that as a kid growing up. That doesn't make me a prude because I don't want to use that language. There were other women around, older women in the aisles, and little kids, and I'm thinking, this is now okay? Did I miss the memo?
Yeah.
This is now okay?
Decency is gone. And so are we, Joe. So where do we find you, and what stations we find you on?
If you hop on therealside.com, you can find the stations, the times, and you can pick up I have no old podcasts, by the way, just for clarity. They're all classic podcasts. You can pick them up off the website.
All right. Well, you are a classic, Joe. And of course, you can find us on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. In the show notes, link to Joe's site. Just click it and you'll get right to him. Joe, thanks so much for being on.
Kerry, thanks for having me.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.